we're going to complete an artist interview today with Susan Blanchard. She actually is our Wall of Honor, and she's also one of our very influential artists this year. So welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's start with you telling us just a little bit about you.
Okay. I am a post-World War II baby. You can imagine that. So I was talking to my mother, she's 94, and when I was little, we were raised in the family farmhouse. So everybody moved back home from after the war, and there was a lot of noise, a lot of chaos, a lot of crazy stuff. One of my pieces over here actually is sort of a celebration of my father's horse during that time of life. So I was thinking about Dynamite and my dad, and it's just that kind of crazy stuff. So anyway, I went along with my family moved from the old part of Orlando, Florida, before Disney World, and to like a suburb area. But I always was with my mom a lot, and she was my main inspiration as an artist because she would draw paper dolls, and then she would make the clothing and the shoes, etc., etc. That's because we were poor. She would do that, and so that inspired me to learn to draw, or to not even learn to draw, just to draw. And so that sort of a desire to put something on paper has always been there. So over the course of the years, I would do doodles, and then I would draw landscapes, designs, and housing designs, and stuff that would come to mind. I was like, well, I can probably put that down and give my construction person that information, and they would be able to glean. And so most of them would say, well, that's pretty good. I wish other people would draw this for me so I would understand what they were looking for. So it was a kind of interesting way to kind of manifest what my mom had taught me to do with the simple paper dolls. But my first actual art class was not until high school, and I bombed terribly. They wanted me to do something that was very abstract. I'm like, I don't know how to do that stuff. So I didn't do very well. And I almost didn't want to get back into the field, but when I was in my early 20s, before kids, I met a lot of artists, musicians, photographers, people from the Maryland Institute of Art, and I married one of the photographers from that school, and was very inspired to take a class. So I found my first mentor, Larry Champetier. He was a landscape painter. So I got my first taste of skill sets that I needed to do for art. And so I would do my own stuff, but most of it was very small. It was a small time of life because I was only in school for like a couple of years. And then later, so I did a few paintings, sold a couple, but mostly it was, me just learning how to paint. And then at the same time, I was also looking into my career track, which actually ended up being in the mental health field. So I'm a single parent at that point, and I needed to make some money, so I went that direction, but never gave up the idea of doing painting work. At that point, it was just painting. And in the 90s, I found the Art League Torpedo Factory, which is outside of Washington, D.C., and a lot of the artists, Danny Dawson, Robert Liberace, the portrait painters, worked there. So I was introduced to a whole other element, League of Painters, and learned more that I was able to sort of dabble in. I've not ever had any formal training in acrylics or in pastels or watercolors, but oil painting was my primary medium. And then when I moved here, I had retired from my mental health job, and I said, I'm gonna have a studio. So I started taking classes at the Cherokee Art Center before it closed, and that was primarily in drawing and acrylics. I wanted to learn how to do some acrylics, but that didn't really last that long because I stumbled upon pottery. And I said, oh, this is good. I remember liking to play with him in the sandbox, making mud pies, things of that nature back when I was a kid. So it was a perfect, yeah, it was a perfect element for me to be able to go in and go, yeah, this is kind of cool. I like getting my hands dirty. It's like it was great, and I like the 3D element that clay offered me. I was very drawn to sculpture. I'm not real fond of, functional stuff, though I will make pots and things like this, but I like to make them with a bent so that they actually are more, more non-traditional. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. So I think, and I took sculpting classes from Julie Nunn and Barbara Murphy, both of who live up in the Cherokee, up in Canton. And so my wolf was my Springer Spaniel was my first, he's probably this big, he was my first sculpture that I did. And she taught me some techniques about how to create and then hollow things out, etc. And then my wolf, which sold, by the way, at the Lowen Art Center. And so I was like, maybe I can actually do this stuff and actually, sell a few things. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm still passionate about doing more clay, and my strategy these days is that I think I'm going to do clay during the summer so I can go outside and wash all the stuff outside. It's a very dirty job. And then in the wintertime, when I'm more content, I'll probably end up doing more paintings and things like that, drawings and paintings. So that's kind of, I think, me in a nutshell.
And that's an excellent strategy.
Yeah.
Because it keeps you passionate year round.
Yeah.
All year round. So how do you believe viewers experience your art? What do you think the message might be, or how they might interpret it?
Well, I think it's very interesting. A lot of people, for some reason or another, like my pieces. They said, I don't know what feedback that I've gotten, or things like, I really like that dragonfly embedded in something, because I like dragonflies. So maybe underneath a layer that's been highly glazed, so that it's almost like a 3D, almost like a fossil.
Yeah.
So people I think they just like the originality of it, because I don't really do things that are not, I just don't do things that are really kind of like traditional. And I do a lot of hand building, because I think with that I can manipulate the clay in that direction. So I guess that inspiring people to look beyond traditional things and looking for something that just, I don't know, strikes them, to spark in them. I don't know, that just kind of maybe who I am. I like things that do the same to me. So the lady that bought the buffaloes here, perfect example. I mean, I knew that someday, what struck me when I painted it, it was the whole notion of a family of buffaloes, father, mother, and the baby, and they got separated from the herd in the storm, but they were together. And that's the story that it resonated with the woman that bought it, and she said, I gotta have it. So she took it. I was shocked that it was like, but that's what I'm hoping, that something will resonate in something that I've produced, and it will have meaning for them. Things have meaning for me in the process of creating. To me, it's kind of like, if I'm really, really in a very good place, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, it flows. If I'm struggling with something, it could be a conflictual emotion or something that's going on in my life. It tends to be something that I find that I argue with myself internally about the process. And then when I just relax and just let it flow again, it comes natural. So I don't know if I answered that or not.
You did. You absolutely did. And so when you say traditional, I hear that as you want your art to be very personable.
Yeah.
Not some of the cookie cutter stuff that we might be taught in formal education or formal trainings. And those fundamentals are important. But you want your art to have more personality that's personal to you. and then it speaks to the viewer.
Right.
Or the collector.
Right.
And one of our themes here is art speaks inspiration and hope and beauty.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear you describing. Not tradition, it's not a traditional piece, but it is speaking something that's personable.
Right. That's correct. That's right on. I was thinking when I was doing some of the looking at the questions earlier and sort of reflecting on what I would want to say. I think that the biggest thing for me is I like expressionism, the personal message that comes from something inside of me. It could have been an emotional time in my life. I really don't know always where it comes from, but something strikes me and it's like, I wonder if I can find a way to put that down, express it in some fashion or another. Some people write books and poems, and there's a million ways that we can do that. Talk, speak, dance, whatever. And I just love that idea that, we can carry a message. I can carry a message. And for some, maybe it clicks with other people. Maybe it clicks with a lot of people. I don't know. But, that's just kind of where I am with it certainly clicks with me. It's an inside job, as they say. So, yeah.
That is absolutely beautiful. So how would you say that your art inspires hope? Our theme this year is hope. And I think everyone agrees that we can never have enough hope in our world or in our own personal lives. So how would you say your art can speak hope to others?
Well, I think that in that painting alone, just it by itself, I was just reflecting on how there was the unity in the family. My hope is that families they have strengths and they have weaknesses, right? We all do as a human being. I think that's the huge thing that I think that I'm trying more than anything as I get more comfortable with who I am, even late in life, the more I want to carry a message of inspiration, faith, that there is no really wrong, there is a process. So when things come up in life that are difficult, a challenge, for instance, it could be for me sometimes it's a challenge of how am I going to express something, how am I going to draw something. And when I just trust, and hope is in there, that I can have the courage to just give it a try. Because to me, if I don't give it a try, I think I'm letting myself down. And I think that's the message that I would say for anybody, especially older people who want to do art. Don't stop dancing. Never stop dancing. Never stop giving yourself, I think, a pat on the back when you just want to try something. You want to give it a go. And like today, I'm working on three pieces actually. It's 2 pieces. One is a single buffalo, and he's pretty powerful. And then there's a mother and a baby, but they're separated because I don't have enough room, so they have to be separated. But there really are a unit, they can be sold like individually or separate. And what my hope was is that as I lay in bed at night, sometimes I'm thinking, how am I going to do that? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it sort of just kind of comes. So the next day when I go down to my studio and I start trying things out, I'm like, moving things around, making sure that I haven't forgotten the piece that I wanted to capture, a gesture. There's a lot in gestures, when you think about it. I'm a hand person, you can tell. And I think that a gesture conveys a lot of energy, strength, courage. So for an older person, I didn't really start doing this until 2015, 16. Didn't even pick up clay until 16, 17. And I say, Bill Davidson, he's a landscape painter, and he was an attorney for years. He's one of the guys that on YouTube all the time I see him, and I really like his stuff. Ian Roberts, great messages. Don't give up
the divine providence that guides us. I mean, it sounds kind of, it's my spiritual guide. Because you'll see in this gal here, she's my lady spirit. My connection spiritually is an internal thing that I think that moves from my brain and through my heart and then through, an expression. And whether I put down a line or whether I put down a slab of clay, it's still another expression. So don't ever give up. For me, it's like, don't ever give up, Susan. As long as you can still walk, sit in a chair, whatever, don't give up the idea that there is still an opportunity to do something good. And that can be just a smile. Anyway, that's kind of my personality.
I absolutely love that. When a person loses hope, they might be in a dangerous place. Even if they're not in a dangerous place, they will definitely stop growing or stop creating or stop dreaming. And that's not what we want to do. I like that you say, don't stop dancing. Never stop dancing. So what do you hope to accomplish within the next year or 2 years or even 5 years?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot. I said health depending, always there's, I never know what to, but assuming that all things go well, I continue to do what I'm doing. And every time, even if I create the same object, maybe it's a different technique that I might use. So I continue to want to grow as an artist. My subject matter has changed. You can see it's very broad. The only thing I don't really do much of is abstracts, and I don't do urban paintings. That may change. I have opportunities to do several things differently. So, but I'd like to also, I have this thing in mind where I want to paint the aging, the graying of America, because that's kind of where I am in life. And so I would like to capture, say, in this next year in my painting, perhaps some figurative paintings of women, especially women. I'm very much a person that supports ladies and in keeping the hope alive. There's a lot of things you can do that I've learned that I can do. Trust in yourself. One of my sculptures that actually sold from here was I Am Enough. And that's personal. It's a very personal experience for me because I did it from something that I was going through at a time in life. And I just needed to anchor on that. So I'd say for the next year, I'd say continue to feel and believe in I am enough, and my art will continue to flourish because I feel that way. And then over the next 2-3 years, I'd like to be able to paint on larger canvases, and I can't really go much beyond what's the limit of my kiln at this point. But if I find some place that I can actually do larger pieces, I'm also limited because I can't pick things up. So
And
it is what it is. So I have to be logical and realize the advice. So I just continue to do what I'm doing and try to do more acrylics and that kind of thing. So yeah.
that is an awesome plan. Well, we are definitely proud to have you with us. We are proud that you are one of our very influential artists this year. And we definitely look to future collaborations.
Yeah, good.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.